The Battle of Coruscant was the culmination of 3 years of brutal fighting between the Grand Army of the Republic and the droid army belonging to the Confederacy of Independent Systems. And while many might not think much of this battle besides its spectacle at the beginning of Episode 3, it would actually be this battle over the Republic capital that would more or less decide the Clone Wars. Because without this battle, there is no catalyst for Palpatine's rise to power, there is no reason for Anakin to replace Dooku at Sidious's side, and there is no last-ditch offensives by the Separatists, and there is no Jedi Purge. And it is for that reason that the Battle of Coruscant needs to be recounted in its entirety, from beginning to end, from what led to the battle to what followed after its conclusion. It is time to recount the infamous Battle of Coruscant. Because there is a lot to discuss here, I have decided to split this video up into 3 segments: the background of the battle, the actual battle, and the aftermath of the battle. You can find all these neat little segments down on the play bar. And so, without further ado, let us begin. So I debated a lot how to do the background for this video, mainly because in order to properly give you a background of the Battle of Coruscant, we would need to recount much of what happened during the entirety of the Clone Wars, from the first Battle of Geonosis to the political intrigue that defined much of the war's middle year, to the last campaign of the 3-year war, the Outer Rim Sieges. But if I were to do that, we would be here for like 45 minutes talking about just that, and well, that's no fun. So instead, I'm going to try and give the most descriptive but briefest descriptions of the war, okay? Okay. At the start of the Clone Wars, following the first Battle of Geonosis, the Galactic Republic and the Separatist Alliance waged various skirmishes across the galaxy, with both sides vying to claim the most important hyperspace routes across the cosmos. This was done for one reason. Hyperspace lanes are how you get around. In order to traverse the galaxy, in order to move armies, supplies, fleets, and persons of interest, you need hyperlanes that are safe for travel. The Separatist Alliance knew this, and they knew just how important they were to the Galactic Republic, so they sought to then cut off the supply of goods, personnel, and overall travel of their rival. This led to battles on the planets like Christophsis and Teth, but the focus later shifted to places like Ryloth after the Separatists lost control of the aforementioned planets and their hold on most of the Republic-required hyperlanes, and instead sought to pillage and plunder resources if they could not deny the Republic of their own. And this process would go on for much of the war. The Separatist Alliance would invade a sector or a planet of importance, causing the Republic to retaliate, which would then lead to a Republic victory. At the same time, the Separatists would also test new prototype weaponry against the Republic, which would make up for their lack of winning many of the most important head-to-head confrontations of the war. These weapons, such as the Malevolence, would prove to be a boon to the Confederacy, allowing them to easily claim numerous victories from the Republic, especially in the Outer Rim. However, while they were effective, these new weapons would see their end at the hands of the Republic not long after their introduction, and would become more of a waste of resources than much else. Really, it's almost like the Separatist Alliance wasn't supposed to win. I wonder why that is. But even if it felt like they weren't supposed to win, the Confederacy did manage to claim important segments of the Outer Rim within the first 2 years of the Clone Wars, which all culminated in the all-important Outer Rim Sieges, the namesake campaign for the various battles and conflicts fought throughout the Outer Rim. The Republic, by this time, had been stretched thin. Their resources were nearly depleted from warfare, but so were their enemies. And so the Republic used the Outer Rim Sieges as a way to push hard, and win the war right then and there. Everything, every trooper, commander, starship, and resource they could afford was pooled into the Outer Rim in hopes of winning the war and being done with it. But this all-out push by the Republic came at a cost, because in order to properly counter the Confederacy in the Outer Rim, many of the core worlds, the most important sectors to the Galactic Republic, were left undefended and undermanned, Coruscant included. This ill-equipped defense of the Republic's most important worlds presented an opportunity to the Separatists. While the Republic was busy with the Outer Rim, the CIS could easily bring their fleets to bear on the very heart of their enemy, on the very epicenter of their government. And so, the Separatists came up with a plan. Using a third of their remaining fleets, the CIS would launch a surprise attack on the Republic capital of Coruscant, neutralize any token force guarding the planet from space, invade the surface, and take prisoner the most important man in the Republic government, Chancellor Palpatine. This attack would do three things. For one, it would show the galaxy that the Republic is spread so thin that they can't even defend their own capital, which would shatter any faith left in the Republic as an entity. As for two, upon completion of their attack, it would force the Republic to recall many of the fleets present in the Outer Rim so they can bolster the defense of the core worlds, which would give the CIS some much needed breathing room. And three, capturing Chancellor Palpatine would also provide the Separatist Alliance with a bargaining chip that they can use to bring the Republic to the negotiation table and sign an armistice, effectively ending hostilities with the Confederacy still intact. But there is also a fourth reason, a secret reason for the battle, not one known to the galaxy at large, but one that is known to us. Chancellor Palpatine, or Darth Sidious if you will, saw an opportunity to enact all that he desired in one fell swoop. The defeat of the Jedi, the trust and loyalty of Anakin Skywalker, and a way to end the war with both sides utterly failing to uphold even the most basic of their founding principles, which would give rise to a new order in the galaxy. And all that was needed was a brazen attack on the Republic capital, where Palpatine himself is taken prisoner. And so, it is for these reasons that the Confederacy of Independent Systems launched a direct attack on the Republic capital of Coruscant. And it is here, 19 years before the Battle of Yavin, that the Battle of Coruscant begins. Now, before I begin recounting the actual battle, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. There is not much info detailing what occurs in the early stages of the Battle of Coruscant. In Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, the Battle of Coruscant we see at the beginning of the movie is already in full swing. We never see Grievous kidnap Palpatine, but the opening crawl confirms that it did happen. However, not all is lost, for if we look toward the old 2003 Clone Wars cartoon, we can find the initial first phase of the battle, and we can see how it played out. However, again, the 2003 Clone Wars cartoon is a part of the old Legends continuity for Star Wars, meaning that it is no longer canon as it predates Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm. So the battle we see in 2003 is not technically canon, but I would argue that even if the canon events didn't happen 100% as we saw them in the cartoon, it is still fairly accurate. If you look at a lot of information regarding the Battle of Coruscant, much of the first phase is what is depicted in the cartoon. So I will be using footage from the 2003 cartoon to better chronicle what occurs. Just know that what I'm about to share with you, what I'm about to show you, may or may not be 100% true. Consider it soft canon. It happened in the lore, just not exactly how it went down in 2003. Okay? Okay. let us finally begin. Taking full advantage of the Republic's desire to end the Clone Wars, the Separatists, led by both Count Dooku and General Grievous, launched a surprise attack on the Republic capital of Coruscant to try and end the war in their favor. Their objectives: blow past the Coruscant home fleet, reach the surface of the planet, and kidnap Chancellor Palpatine. Meanwhile, the bulk of the Separatist fleet will engage with whatever Republic reinforcements arrive in time to ensure that the landing party is able to get in and get out without any interruption. And this plan, well, it went off without a hitch. For some time in the early morning or afternoon on Coruscant, a massive Separatist fleet exited hyperspace and successfully established themselves just above the Republic capital, making short work of the vastly more inexperienced Coruscant defense fleet, which was hardly even an obstacle for the veteran CIS Navy. And it was with the space above Coruscant relatively secured that General Grievous launched his attack and openly invaded the surface of the planet, successfully landing him and his forces within the federal district of Coruscant. Now, for those who might not know, a quick side note: the federal district of Coruscant is, like it sounds, where the federal government of the Republic resides. It houses the Senate building, the Senate Executive Building, the Avenue of the Core Founders, and, more importantly, the Jedi Temple itself. Of course, Grievous's target would be the Senate buildings, where Chancellor Palpatine was being housed. And to help mask Grievous's approach and to ensure he could reach Palpatine uninterrupted, a seemingly large invasionary force was launched with him simultaneously. And this giant force not only would secure Grievous's route, but would also instill terror to those living under Republic rule on the planet. But before we go any further, let's talk about the Republic and its defense, because I really haven't mentioned them much. Now, I already stated that the Coruscant home fleet was of no match for the droid army, and that remains true. In fact, for the most part, the entire Republic defense, from space to surface, was in absolute disarray most of the battle, with no real command structure besides that which was provided by the Jedi still residing in the Jedi Temple, who, upon the invasion's beginning, fanned out to the corners of Coruscant to defend the planet. For example, Jedi Masters Yoda and Mace Windu took command of the major ground assaults, Jedi Master Shaak Ti and Jedi Knight Roran Korab took to securing the Chancellor, and in the Legends continuity, Jedi Master Saci, I'm gonna go with Saci Teen took to space and helped to reorganize the defense fleet until reinforcements could arrive, though the canonization of this event is really up for debate. Now, as for the wider part of the Republic, I believe it's safe to assume that it was around the time where Grievous arrived on the surface of Coruscant that the Republic forces abroad in the Outer Rim and other places would have probably gotten word of the Separatist invasion and would be making for home immediately. And one of the first fleets to make its return to Coruscant and help reinforce would be the Open Circle Fleet, which was commanded by Jedi General Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Anakin, Rex, prepare all forces. We're jumping to hyperspace immediately.
Yes, sir. Men, with me!
So the attack on Mandalore was approved?
No, it's Coruscant. Grievous has attacked the capital.
What about the Chancellor?
Shaak Ti has been sent to protect him, but Master Windu has lost contact with her.
We'll talk more about Republic reinforcements soon, but reinforcements seem to be coming too late, for Grievous was able to maneuver his way through the Federal District, cutting down waves of Republic clone troopers and even Jedi when he got the chance, until he reached Palpatine, who was defended by, like I said, Jedi Knight Roran Korab and Jedi Master Shaak Ti. It is here that Roran Korab would meet his end at Grievous's hand, while Shaak Ti put up enough of a fight to challenge the droid general, only to be defeated and knocked unconscious, but not killed. And with that, Grievous has claimed his prize. He took the Chancellor, scoring the Separatist Alliance its second victory in the Battle of Coruscant. But the fighting was not done yet, for as soon as Grievous returned to his capital ship, the Invisible Hand, with Palpatine in tow, mind you, those Republic reinforcements I mentioned a few minutes ago had arrived to reinforce what remained of the Coruscant home fleet. And Well, I think we all are well aware of what happens next as it plays out in Episode 3, but in order to recount the entire battle, we have to tell it all the same. This all leads us to Phase 2 of the battle. Regrouping for a counterattack, the Republic forces fighting above the planet received word that General Grievous had kidnapped the Chancellor and had taken him back to the Invisible Hand, likely with the intent on leaving. The Republic, knowing the political fallout that would occur if the CIS managed to escape with the elected leader of most of the galaxy, shifted their priority from the defense of Coruscant to the recapture of Chancellor Palpatine. Together, with help from the Open Circle fleet, what remained of the Republic home fleet moved to blockade the Invisible Hand from accessing any hyperspace lanes, all the while a small strike team would enter the Separatist cruiser and rescue the Chancellor. This strike team would be led by both Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, who arrived with the Open Circle fleet and immediately took command of Flight Squad 7, one of the many clone flight squadrons participating in the battle. Departing from the starship Roti Mundi, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Flight Squad 7 battled their way across the chaotic stretch of space above the Republic capital until they, just barely, reached the Invisible Hand, where the two Jedi departed from their clone counterparts and made their way to Palpatine alone. We know that storyline. We also know the exact details of Anakin and Obi-Wan's expedition, and while we will get to it, I think it is best if we go look at some of the other things to note about the overall battle at this time, like, for example, the ground assault. After Grievous departed from the Federal District, we kinda lose track of what happened to the forces still fighting throughout the city, and I can only assume, given the track record of the Separatist battle plans in the years prior to the Battle of Coruscant, that the droid forces still on the planet were left to fight to the last man, or, well, the last robot, while Grievous and the rest of the CIS in space escaped with their prize. Though an overall retreat could have been called, but I seriously doubt a few droids that would have still been fighting were going to be able to make it back to the Separatist fleet with the absolute mess that was the battle above the planet. And speaking of that battle, I mentioned that the Republic fleets prioritized blockading the Invisible Hand from escaping, and they did this by blockading available hyperlanes leading in and out of the system. But that was not all the Republic was doing. While many of the larger ships blockaded the ways to escape, the rest of the Republic fleet was still engaging the Separatist Armada, that Armada's objective being to blow through the Republic blockade and create a path for the Invisible Hand to escape through. And these Republic ships actively engaging in combat with the droid army to make up for the lack of any true command structure coordinating the Republic defense efforts were deploying a tactic simply known as Brawl. Now Brawl, for those who don't know, is a tactic really only used when your fleets were in disarray, much like how the Republic fleets were during most of this battle, and the entire point of the strategy was to do as much damage to the enemy as physically possible, your own defense be damned. This tactic was also very good at nulling the advanced combat processors of the CIS's tactical droids by committing a battle strategy that was so brazen the droid could not properly compute it. And for the most part, this tactic was a resounding success, especially during this battle. But to get back on track, let's go back to Palpatine's rescue. Jedi Generals Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, after having landed in Grievous's capital ship, made their way through the Invisible Hand, cutting down battle droids where they needed to, using elevators when it suited them, until the pair arrived at the starship's observation deck, the place Palpatine was currently being held. Together, Anakin and Obi-Wan entered the observation deck, where they were confronted by none other than Count Dooku for, quite possibly, the last time. Together again, Anakin and Obi-Wan engaged Count Dooku until the duel climaxed with Obi-Wan being knocked out and knocked aside, and Dooku at Anakin's mercy. Under Palpatine's order, Anakin decapitates Darth Tyrannus, fulfilling one of Palpatine's grand designs for the Battle of Coruscant. The death of Dooku not only meant the Separatists were without a uniting figure at the head of their alliance, but it also set up Anakin to eventually take Dooku's place at Palpatine's side. But that's a topic for the aftermath, so for now let's just focus on the the battle. With Dooku dead and Palpatine back in Republic hands, Skywalker and a recovering Kenobi attempted to make their escape from the Invisible Hand, but they were halted and promptly captured by General Grievous. Now we'll get back to what happens following their capture in a minute, but let's discuss what is occurring outside of Grievous's capital ship. As I mentioned before, the Republic strategy was to inflict as much damage on the Separatist fleet as humanly possible to make up for the absolute disarray of the Republic Navy. This means firing wildly at any target that comes near, and it just so happens that the Invisible Hand was waylaid and fired upon by the Republic cruiser, the Lara. This attack on Grievous's flagship did massive damage to the ship's systems, something that would become an issue once Anakin and Obi-Wan broke free of Grievous's imprisonment and commandeered the Starcraft, which they do with relative ease, though Grievous does manage to escape. And I think it's safe to assume that after Grievous got away, most of what remained of the Separatist fleet attempted to do so as well. As for the Invisible Hand, without flight controls or the things needed to, keep it upright, the ship would be caught in Coruscant's gravitational pull, causing the ship to plummet to the Coruscanti surface and crash land in the middle of Galactic City, the city center of Coruscant. Luckily, Anakin and Obi-Wan and Palpatine managed to pilot the capital ship as it fell and were able to land it on an emergency runway far from any civilians or important city centers. And it was at last with the Invisible Hand's landing that the Battle of Coruscant officially concluded. Upon the conclusion of the Battle of Coruscant, many different but very important things occurred. For one, the Republic had scored a major victory against the Separatist alliance. During the battle, Count Dooku was slain, and a third of the CIS Navy deployed to Coruscant had been destroyed or captured, leaving the Confederacy without a political figurehead or a navy in which to wage war, pushing the Separatists to the absolute brink of collapse. Though, despite their losses, General Grievous did manage to escape, becoming the de facto leader of the Separatist alliance and the prime target for the Republic going forward. For as long as Grievous was still alive, the Republic Senate would continue to fund the war. And this was all exactly what Palpatine had wanted, well, maybe minus Grievous's survival. As I stated at the very beginning of this video, and many times throughout, Chancellor Palpatine, who was the Dark Lord of the Sith, orchestrated the entire battle in an effort to get rid of Dooku, the Separatist alliance, and to further groom Anakin Skywalker into becoming his next apprentice, as well as to plant the seeds needed that would see a victorious but failing Republic be reformed into a new galactic empire. So it was because of the Battle of Coruscant that the Empire was able to rise from the ashes of the Republic. It was because of the Battle of Coruscant that Order 66 and the Jedi Purges were carried out. And it was because of the Battle of Coruscant that Anakin Skywalker went from this to this. But one more note before we end today. Despite the fact that the Battle of Coruscant was vital in the creation of the Galactic Empire, Palpatine had initially planned for the outcome of the battle to occur a lot earlier, using mostly the same structure. Except instead of a battle over Coruscant as the backdrop, it was to be the Chancellor's home planet of Naboo that was to be the stage for Palpatine's kidnapping, Dooku's death, Anakin's turn to the dark side, and the end of the Clone Wars sooner rather than later. I did a video on this exact thing, and if you're interested in knowing more about this plan and how it failed, you can go watch that video right here. But as for now, as for this video, if you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and whatever else you might be keen on doing. Also, if you have any of your own questions about Star Wars or its lore, and you would like them answered in a dedicated video, please be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching, and remember well,